Hi, this is Shelley from the Putnam County Library, and today we're going to look at a resume with little to no work experience. This is being brought to you by the Guiding Ohio Online Grant. Before we look at 8 different sections that you might want to include in your resume, I'd like to take a look at how you can do a quick Google search. I'm just going to bring up Google here for a minute. And if you simply are at Google and you were to type in resume, and you'll see how the ideas start to pop up. And I'm going to go to resume examples. When you go to resume examples, my suggestion is you can to just get an idea of how different resumes can look. If you click on images for resumes, you'll see all of these different images that pop up. So you could just simply click on different ones, take a look, see how different individuals have created their resume. So for example, a maintenance worker resume sample. But the one thing to keep in to note is up at the top, there are different types. So if you are a student and you're beginning to just try and look for a job for the first time, this can be nice because you can simply find a resume here that would maybe be very beneficial based upon what your experiences are. The second thing I would like to look at before we talk about the 8 different sections involved is when you're creating a resume, if you are using something like Word, for example. So I'm going to click and bring up my Microsoft Word. And you notice I have just a blank piece of paper for my Microsoft Word. However, if I were to go to File, and instead of saying a new document, say New from Template, I can then get all of these different templates that pull up. And if I were to type in a resume up here at the top, it's going to bring up the different resume templates that they have available. So then you would be able to just simply click on that resume, and it would already have information started here, and you could start to type and just replace with your own information. So now at this point, what I'd like to do is let's go to the slideshow that I actually had created, titled A Resume with Little to No Work Experience. And the first thing that I'd like to talk about is that there are different sites such as Resume Builder, Indeed, or you can do the image search like I showed you, or the resume template in Microsoft Word. I will tell you that there are many different sites out there that offer about a resume. However, many of those do have a fee involved when you actually get to the point of making the resume. So that's why I wanted you to be aware of how you can just do a search and get different images to see, as well as how to go about that with Microsoft Word's templates. So 8 different things that could be included on your resume. First is with a summary, and this summary is usually going to be placed, or it is going to be placed below where your name and your contact information. And I just would make a note that when you're putting your contact information in, make sure that you do include a cell phone number, an email address, and it is very important that you have an email address that is appropriate. Sometimes some of us have some email addresses that we might not want to have for a job interview or for a prospective employer to have. So it's important that it's a very professional looking email address as well. Um, you will want to include in this summary who you are, what makes you an ideal candidate. You're just a brief 2 to 3 sentences. And you can then see here on this slide I've included an example of what a summary might look like. Excuse me. Secondly, the second part that you would want to include is any education and training. Now, if we're talking about a resume where you maybe have little or no work experience, you might want to think outside of the box here a little bit and make sure that if there's any type of training that you've maybe went through, maybe it would be like you are certified in CPR or things like that. If you're a recent graduate, it's important to show the name of the school you attended or are attending. And if you have a GPA that's 3.5 or higher, and it's been within the last 5 years, many times that's recommended to be included along with any honors. We want to place all of this in what is reverse chronological order. So in other words, whatever you've done most recently. And if you finish college and have some type of a college degree, depending on how long it's been, sometimes that's not information that you might necessarily want to include. However, if it is something where maybe you're going back to the area that you were originally from, that might be something so that they understand and know that you have ties back to that community. Again, down below is an example of college graduation in terms of an example of what someone would maybe include. The third part that you would need to include would be any achievements that you might have. And this is usually like 3 to 4 bullet points, and you want to highlight what you find as the most beneficial in terms of what has been the most personal milestones that you might have. This often maybe might be an area that would take the place of or be much greater if you don't have a lot of previous work experience and education. This might be an area where you would include many more things with your achievements. Fourth slide, and the fourth point is the volunteer experience. Again, another area that can be very important, especially if you don't have a lot of work experience. A lot of employers really appreciate seeing this area because they know then that you're willing to take initiative and to get things done, and that you're willing to kind of give of your time towards other things. When you're putting this in, you want to make sure that you list the organization, a description of kind of what you've done and the time frame in which you volunteered with that experience. Special skills is the fifth area. So when you're talking about special skills, you're looking at what is referred to as often like hard and soft skills. Hard skills are the things that you would have received some type of training for. Those are listed in the cream colored box there, where it might be, excuse me, they're listed in the green box, which means you might be bilingual, you might have experience and know how to use Adobe software suite, you might know how to use Microsoft Office. If you've maybe been certified in, say, maybe you have a CPR or an STNA degree, those type of things. And then the cream color box is what is referred to as your soft skills. So those are more the skills that would be what make you the person you are. You know, if you're very good at problem solving, if you're very good with your time management, what other people would maybe have to say about you that know you personally. The sixth area you might would want to include would be professional memberships. Um, it, when you have and are a part of these professional memberships, they say that shows that you continue to learn, to be up to date, that you want to be involved with your peers in terms of what your area interest is. You can do a Google search to find different organizations, and if you're not a part of a professional type of membership or anything like that, it can be beneficial to reach out and look to see what's available and join those memberships so that you could include that on your resume. And again, down below there is an example with like a person with Alliance for Nursing. The seventh area, not something that would apply to everyone, but it is very important that if you have any type of language competency, that you really would want to consider adding that and looking at that on your resume. This can be very beneficial in many jobs, and employers definitely would want to know about that. And then the eighth area to include would be your references. Now, this is an area that you would put on a separate sheet of paper. And individuals that you might want to include would be current or former managers, current or former coworkers, current or former employees, academic advisor, professional mentor. It's not an area to put family members and people that you might be related to. You would want to make sure that you include their name, of course, their position, and that information again is listed in the box down below. And the other thing that you definitely want to make sure that you, when you include anyone on this list, that you put in or make sure that the individuals you put down as references, that they are aware of, that they are going to be referred to on your resume as a reference. If you are a first time person looking for a job, it's probably, you might only have like maybe 3 references that you would want to include. Professional individuals would probably have more individuals to include because they would have some of their previous employers and coworkers. Those are the 8 areas that are looked at in terms of including on what would be a very basic resume. So I hope you found this information useful, and we'll be back in another week with some more videos for the library. Thank you.